you want to divvy it up. So
yeah, they've gone with the Argent Squires and the Annoyatrons in this version as well, which is good because it's not about protecting your stupid 1/1 Divine Shield thing. That's not winning you the game. It's about interfering with the Perpetual Flame. You put a couple of Divine Shields on the board, they've actually got to proc those, otherwise the Perpetual Flame might just hit the shield and stop. Again, Oracle of Elune 2/4. A lot of the things in this deck just mess up Perpetual Flames. So yeah, they've got a chance at least, like you say, unlike some other aggro decks, which it feels like the Shaman just demolishes.
yeah, like Shadow Priest, for instance.
Yeah.
They don't really have like these big combos that they can do that they can hold on to like cards in the way that Aggro Druid can. Monsanto's just going to go in now. He had Oracle plus Battle Guard plus Taunts, so there's an argument that he could save it, but it's just too difficult, right? He just wants to kind of go in now, make the Perpetual Flame difficult right off the bat, and then move from there.
And the speed at which he did it shows that he's played this matchup a million times, because Coin Watch Posts also looked like appetizing if you've not played the deck before. Saving things for the Oracle of Elune, also appetizing, but no, Monsanto just wants to put on maximum pressure, maximum anti-flame. And here we are. Bone-Chewer Brawler or Watch Post next turn. Which one do you think's better? Just put on more pressure if nothing happens here, or slow your opponents down?
Probably more pressure, right?
Or both, actually.
Yeah.
Because this is messy for Dimitri. Yep, why not both? I was kind of assuming that gets killed because Shamans tend to do their damage in threes and get rid of things like that. But yeah, this is now disaster for Dimitri in game one.
Things can change pretty quickly if he does pick up the Perpetual Flame. Though again, it's going to be difficult. He's going to need some time to be able to set it up. Yeah,
he's in full serious mode. The background hasn't changed, I don't believe, unless there's anything behind where his head is. That's good. He shouldn't be messing around with casters. He should be winning tournaments, so happy. I'd have been happy if he'd messed around as well, of course, but...
I'm quite interested. Yeah, he's just going to go for it. If it's like ever worth holding on to the Bone-Chewer Brawler for Oracle next turn. But I don't know if you can hope for your Battle Guard to survive. I think you just have to play to the upside. And, I mean, Dimitri's still struggling to piece together pretty much anything.
Yeah, the second you don't get any removal, because you always get removal, that's what your deck does. You are struggling, and Monsanto's sensing the opportunity. Decisions to make here. Because the squirrel is really handy, but if he waits a turn, he can get multiple squirrels. I don't think he'll want to put the Oracle out there, but maybe he does, because then it's just a 2/4 that's more chance of getting in the way of the flame.
Yeah.
He is only doing 5 damage a turn. It looks like a monstrous board, but it's not that quick. If he gets a lifesteal back at him, he just undoes almost all the damage he's done in the whole game. So, still some thinking to do. It will all revolve obviously around that arbor up, so it's just a case of when to set that up.
I think I would choose Squirrel here, if anything.
You have a lot of top decks to go with the Oracle if you Hero Power Squirrel here. Wanting to just defend from the flame by the look of it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Dimitri doesn't even have. Honestly, this is pretty awkward. It's probably just Dunk Tank the Oracle, because that's the most threatening minion on the board. Sure. I don't think you can just afford to just put something in the way like a Feral Spirits and then hope. And now we're one turn away. If Perpetual Flame was in the hand, it almost certainly would have come down there in some aspect because Monsanto saw that Dimitri was holding on to a spell damage minion, and even with the Annoyatron on board, like spending 4 mana just to dunk tank the Oracle when you could Perpetual Flame and have a pretty decent chance of either hitting the Oracle or the Battle Guard. Maybe not, though. That's kind of a tough read to have a 100% on. But now Monsanto, I mean, his face is just like resigned to, all right, there's my stuff. I got an Arbor up in hand. If you don't kill it, then I can win the game next turn. So...
yeah, and it wasn't worth saving, right? I was thinking, what else can he do? Like, it wasn't worth saving a Squirrel and a Peasant. That's not a reload. That's just 2 cards you're going to put on the board and are going to die. Like, you might as well put them on the board now.
Yeah.
They're not getting you anywhere if he's got it, he's got it.
Yeah.
Or rather, if he draws it, he draws it. Because as you explained, he hasn't got it.
So now Dimitri's looking at Lightning Bolt and Feral Spirits. And then the question is, like, what do you Lightning Bolt? There's 1 card in hand, so the Battle Guard's not that threatening.
What about the Peasant?
There's 1... yeah, the Peasant. Like, honestly, Charge Call is exceptionally weak right now. If he feels like he's desperate for draw, he can play and thinks he can take damage. Arbor up right now on the board. Let's see, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 10, 19. If he takes off 1, he's not dead to just Arbor up on the board. But I think just playing the Feral Spirits is still worthwhile. That also... he's commanded the elements. And now, the most important step of all is to stir those stones.
Yep, got to stir the stones. Every budding shaman knows that. And the Peasant got hit by a lightning bolt. That's unfortunate for him. He was only out collecting logs. And, yeah, amusing that the weakest looking minion is the one that does have to take it, because reloading Monsanto here is a definite end of game.
Yeah.
I mean, from where we're sat, it looks like a pretty end of game anyway, but not even a slogger for Dimitri. He's missed everything. What's he drawn? It feels like he hasn't got any cards.
Yeah, well, the Farwatch Post has actually made things awkward because, like, the Dungeoneer now is really expensive to have to play, and then even if you do draw the Slogger, it costs 5. I was curious how Monsanto was going to do this. Like, he could have gone all in on protecting his board from Perpetual Flame by trading in, like, Bone Churro Bar and the Squirrel. So then he'd have Divine Shield, 2 4-health minions. But, again, spell damage in hand, and a board that's pretty weak to Perpetual Flame. No matter what, he's weak to Perpetual Flame. It's picked off on top. It's pretty clear that Dimitri doesn't have it right now. So just decides to, not the most efficient trades. He still keeps a Divine Shield on an Annoyatron instead of pushing the most efficient amount of damage. But it looks like he's just going to get there, because Dimitri just can't find anything to get going. This Charge Call, I believe, is only a 4. Because he completed the first portion of the quest. That means he's played 3 Overload cards.
Sounds right.
It's just hard digging for Perpetual Flame. Has to go for the 4. Find Circus Amalgam, but he is dead on board. And wow. All right. Well, he just got there. Sometimes you just get there.
Yep. And, I mean, Dimitri must have missed so many chances. Like, he didn't draw even like Fireheart or something that could try and get him out of it. It was just a grim draw. No Slogger, no removal, no Fireheart. He picked up 1 lightning bolt in a whole game, I think it was, and ended up having to shoot a Peasant with it because of the game state, and hope it wasn't Arbor up in Monsanto's hand. But I think he knew it was, because it had been there for some time and everything else had been spammed onto the board in order. Yep, just one of those games. And the Druid showing how powerful it can be. I think it is quite a powerful deck, to be honest.
It certainly is, and, you know, that was a reasonable draw for Monsanto, but it wasn't like this incredibly powerful draw. If Dimitri had picked up, like, Serpentine Portal or Lightning Bolt a little bit earlier and was just able to keep the board in check incrementally, even if he didn't hit Perpetual Flame, there was a much better chance of him actually getting there. So He loses, but he still has a good counter queue with the Handlock, right? This is one of the better matchups against the Aggro druid. Just because they do a great job of keeping the early board in check, and of course the card Soul Rend exists. So you can definitely buy yourself a huge amount of time in the matchup. But Aggro druid still has some panouts that can win them these games. It's a lot about executing these combos, about hitting timely composting so that you have reload once a Soul Rend does happen. So I'm curious to see what did he just 3-keep? Okay, he's just going for the aggro side. There's times when you can just like play towards the combo, like for instance just keep Battle Guard and then hope that you draw like Oracle Teacher's Pet, but playing aggressive and forcing your opponent to play differently in the early game and not just draw through their deck, I think has a lot of... It's a
good shape for aggressive as well. Like the squirrel's really good. If you're going to walk into something that's going to blow your board up, you'll slowly reload. In fact, quickly reload. 4 acorns is a lot of acorns. Yeah, the opportunity to give a Brawler Divine Shield goes all the way back to the Demon Hunter release, when those 2 cards were still deemed fit, even in all the broken Demon Hunter nonsense, to fit into that deck. So that combo still exists, and yeah, I think it's a good choice, but shut down to some degree by a 1-3 armor vendor.
Yeah, but then also not really.
Sure, yep.
Dimitri's hand isn't terrible, though. He's got Quest with Coil here, and then next turn has a Coin Nightshade Matron to contest the board and keep drawing through the deck.
Picked up a touch while you were describing the situation. And I am curious. We've talked about this a lot, Tej, about no one ever throws the quest. Yeah, he's going to have to do it if he's going to touch. That's the thing here, right?
Yep.
He wants to start it actually doing its job, but he doesn't get any health, so maybe he doesn't need to. Maybe he can Mortal Coil and touch here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. That would keep a lot of things in check.
He's then got Coin into Matron the turn after with Hand in Hand. But the second you don't play the quest, you think you're doing something wrong, but I don't know. I think he might just not do it here. Love it.
Yeah. A little bit of wasted healing, but again, the incremental damage that you take and limiting the board as early as possible has a lot of merit, because then it makes composting weaker. It forces Monsanto to kind of empty his hand each turn and just hope there's no reload.
And this Matron's just a monster. Like, you've actually got to deal with the thing, because it's going to sort of slowly chew away at your minions otherwise. Okay, now he's got a decision. Yeah, I love it. Who cares about hero powers and quests? We're just going to play minions, TJ.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he's going to start taking damage, then maybe.
Yeah.
Right? He can play the quest, or if he senses a dead turn from his opponent, then he can play quest.
That's a raised dead and another hand for when this Matron's gone. So he's got no issue with cards. He's never going to have to tap to gain cards. The issue he has is he hasn't got a Soul Rend. That's the short version. Yeah,
but I think he's okay with that outcome. This turn is still decent. He can go Quest, Unstable Shadow Blast, the Watch Post. If he want to take even more damage, the Annoyatron. Depends if he wants to. No, you'd probably do the Far Watch Post just to keep your Nightshade Matron healthier on board, and then Mortal Coil. He's not getting the Rune Mithril Rod down, but at this point, I think he's just, again, worried about keeping the board in check.
Yeah, it's interesting because the blast on the Watch Post saves him so much mana anyway that's just better than the Rod in the current time.
Yeah.
He'll want to try and get that Rod down before replaying the Matron, but it's not essential. I think just... We saw Muzzy a couple of weeks ago sort of try to get too cute taking on Aggro. Just kill their things and get the board, and then Aggro struggles. Very few minions, of course, for Dimitri, so getting the board is a big, difficult deal. But he's just about there. Oh, matron number 2 with hand. Okay.
Cool. I feel like Arbor Up still feels better here. I don't know. This one's really tough.
It depends whether you want to kill the matron, right? You might just want to kill this matron off. Or do this. Just keep pointing it at the dome. One aspect here, if he does play the matron, there's a decent chance the hand will find him a 1-drop with which to finish off the Grey Bell, for instance.
Yeah.
It's not that good, but there's 1 touch left, I believe, and 1 mortal coil.
Yep. Okay, well, he's never killed this Battle Guard again for the entire game. It's got Divine Shield, so he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's kind of done its job. Like, it's not going to do any crazy combos to him, most likely now. Unless Monsanto sort of somehow sticks a peasant or something, he's just not going to have the card draw himself or gets a composting down. I don't know. It's just not really an issue.
Yep, just going to get in there. Hope that some of this sticks, that he can composting next turn and have any type of reload.
Matron into everything goes off, you draw cards, they get cheap, you play some sort of cat thing and draw another card. People selling armor, it's all going on now. Down to 12 cards in deck as well, so he's going to start being able to get healing from the piggies shortly as well. He really just needs to survive this turn and everything should work out nicely for him.
Armor! Lightly used armor!
Not dead to Arbor Up, so not dead. Oh, interesting.
First, and then make a trade, and then hopefully hit... that's difficult, actually. So he can Oracle, then composting, then trade, and then hit a... but it's so inefficient because you'd want to hero power down that 5-1.
Yeah, I think you just play the Oracle and the composting, hero power the 5-1, go face, and see what happens next. That would be my play.
I guess he wants to protect the Oracle a little bit longer just to see what he's going to be able to get.
So he's decided this never gets there, so he needs Oracle into double my next card.
Yep.
Why? It could be a Teacher's Pet, the 4/3 is going to live. That's not enough. How Teacher's Pet works, with only 1 reduction.
Discount it to 3, and it's 2 or less. It needs to cost 2 or less. Get copied, so... Dimitri's now well below 10 cards in the deck because of how aggressively he's been able to draw.
Yep, sitting on double Bristlebacks.
Yeah, it's just insane. Also has second Rod plus Backfire. So this is his whole deck at any point if he wants it. Problem is, not that healthy, but that's where the Bristlebacks come in. So he can like Rod here, Bristleback, and then just kind of call it a day. Not kill the Battle Guard because it puts the same amount of power on board, and a minion that's a little bit harder to deal with because it does have the Grey Bell inside of it. Okay, got an Acorn. Nice. Teacher's Pet?
Teacher's Pet. But it's still okay. Like, he's in danger of losing on the board, forgetting all the other things that Handlock can do to you right now. So it is meh, but it's a meh that can high roll, and I think he needs a meh that can high roll right now.
Yeah.
Always Mookla. That's what you have to tell yourself. He's chipping away, but Dimitri has everything now available.
Yeah. What's his quest progress at?
I mean, I know the answer is not much. I just don't know how not much. Because he played it on like turn 6 or something.
He played it on 4 with a Shadow Blast. Has played a Raised Dead and a Backfire.
There's a way to go. Well, we're going to find out. Four out of 7.
Now 7 out of 7, and can easily clear things up on this board.
The confidence. What about the teacher's pet? Okay, he easily clears up the board, barring some crazy thing that I can't think of. Coin fish!
This will be 2 out of 8. Draw another card. Quickly approaching fatigue, actually. But this is not a problem.
Got all of the stuff off, which I'd be amazed if he didn't, just because, again, we talked about his mechanical play. Usually on point. The rope did actually go off, but I think he just didn't get to the end turn button. He's on 28. His opponent has this minion he decided to never kill, and that's it. Yeah.
There was nothing else that he wanted to play this turn. And still, isolates the battle guard. Because it doesn't matter. He can take this 5. It's got a Grey Bell in it, so he's not worried about it. I mean, Monsanto can go Oracle, Marshall Cup, composting, but again, that board's just going to get picked apart, and even if he's drawing cards, he only has about a turn left.
Yeah.
There. So it's not looking particularly good at the moment. In fact, it's looking terrible. If I were to give him a percentage chance to win right now, it would be 0.001%. And the only way he would is if Dimitri makes a colossal error.
What, like, forgets he's playing Hearthstone and just goes to get a drink?
Yes.
That's kind of it, yeah.
In fact...
Or forgets to play the
4,
quest
5, 6,
and then does...
7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on board. I guess he's only 2 out of 8, which is the difficult part.
So if he forgets to play Tamsin and injures himself for 28, that's a way. But yeah, he's not there this turn.
No.
He can complete this turn, play Tamsin this turn.
Wait. Is it not there this turn? So goes...
Okay. How do you want to start?
He can't get the tick over from the rod because he's going to Soul Rend.
Okay.
And then he can... yeah, if he could get the tick over, but it's awkward.
So... he was on 3, so he could tap Tamsin, right? Tap big Tamsin.
Yep. And then he's got lethal certainly next turn because he can tap Backfire. And he doesn't even need to play the Tamsin. So I don't know why you wouldn't.
No, I don't know why either. That's made things a little bit awkward for himself. And he actually emoted something there, right, I think?
What to do?
Wait, does that change the clock? So he takes 2 fatigue next turn, which should be 2 damage to Monsanto. Then goes tap, which is 5 damage, and then backfire, which is 8 plus 4 plus 5. No, it doesn't change anything.
I think that he was, just judging both what things got hovered over, he was making sure he didn't discard it with Matron.
I think he may have only thought he not discard it from Matron.
Yeah, put it on the board.
Yeah.
I think he thought he only had 4 mana because he hovered over Matron and realised that would be bad.
Yeah.
That's all I've got. Is he thought he had 4 mana, not 5. Bit of mana blindness.
zero sequences of events for Monsanto here that win him the game, even if he had max damage from hand. Maybe he was worried. Maybe he didn't play it because he was worried about Park Panther Arbor Up.
Oh,
So if
okay.
if it was Park Panther Arbor Up, then it would be
Yeah.
8 on board, plus 6. That's 14. Nah, it still wouldn't even be close. What about double Park Panther coin? Nope, wouldn't have enough mana for that. Yeah, this is just lethal.
That's a good point though. Park Panther, you're actually giving them a chance to run into
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, he wasn't. Oh. Yeah, he wasn't dead to any combination of cards from Monsanto.
Yep.
If you include the coin, even if you could pick the draws off the top, wasn't dead because one Arbor Up had been used. So Dimitri takes the expected counter cube matchup against the Aggro Druid. So we're all tied up 1-1. But because Monsanto was able to take a win at all with this Aggro Druid, with 2 rough matchups in the lineup for Dimitri, I'd say that's pretty good for Monsanto. Now he gets to answer the Handlock with a deck of his own, and he's got a rogue in order to do
He
it.
has got a rogue, and I really, really like rogue in this matchup, but it doesn't win it very often in Grandmasters. Largely, I think, because people keep making silly mistakes, especially there's more than 1 week stats in here, so especially last week, not so much this week. But as things stand, you know, rogue doesn't necessarily do that well against Handlock variants in Grandmasters so far, over a 40-game sample as well. So it was 25-17 Handlock versus Rogue, and then it's basically 50-50 Control versus Rogue.
Yeah, I think that this version, it should do better against... All right, Monsanto's going to go with Brute Demon Hunter. So let's break this down. Monsanto's remaining decks were Garrote Rogue and Brute Demon Hunter. And Dimitri's final deck would be Priest. So by queuing Brute Demon Hunter first, Monsanto thinks that Rogue is a better matchup into Priest than it is into Warlock. Or a
unless
better
he thinks-
matchup... Yeah, the
thinks
Rogue
Brute gets
is better
murdered.
than the Demon Hunter against Priest, is a better way.
Yeah, he thinks that the Demon Hunter just gets murdered by Priest, which would be the standard assessment, I think. So he thinks
is
it's got a
fair.
fair chance, yeah. But the best part about it is we get some brutes. So tempting when you've got minions and your opponent doesn't have any removal, just to keep the minions in your mulligan. Especially the Neophyte, actually. That's interesting. That's actually an interesting choice that he's thrown the Neophyte away, because on any given turn, that just stops Brute from doing things, usually. There are exceptions. Let's see what he chooses to do instead. Just go through the deck and do his thing, I guess. Alright, well, Monsanto has the Sigil Tusk Piercer start. That's the thing you want quite often. Well, quite often. You always want it, because that's the best way to get your brutes down at stupid times.
Yep. All right, Rod, we're cooking. So, to go back to the Cold Neophyte discussion, I think that it's not as necessary to disrupt the opponent when you're playing this type of deck, because you just kind of want to do your own game plan, and you're not too concerned with your opponents. Because if you play Cold Neophyte and force your opponent to spend one more turn to try and get like their brutes down or their quest complete, it also means that you're also going to spend more time trying to get your objective complete, because you played a Cold Neophyte and you kept it in a mulligan instead of a card that draws more cards or kills brutes even. So
Yep, that's fair.
so much draw available here. So much potential draw. He's got to be careful about how much he actually uses.
Yeah, he's going to need the weapon at some point. No.
Yep.
Very rare that the brutes actually get it done.
Don't think he can complete the second portion here of the quest. So just gonna hold here. Draw like the minimum number of cards he needs to draw in order to complete quest. And again, has preloaded draw for next turn. Next turn, there's a possibility for double quest completion with double jump and a discounted spectral sight in hand, but it would depend on what the draw is. The two draws are off the top. The spectral sight's going to be a little bit deeper into further away from outcast position. All right, philosophy. It's
the hand to go to the matron up top. So if Monsanto doesn't have a good turn here, and it looks like he will, he could find himself rapidly getting into trouble. But this should be a turn, as we call it in the trade. Oops.
all right.
That was a bit sad. Just reduced a load of nothing, but again, doesn't matter overly. Still just trying to get through the quest is the important part, but it's nice if you do some good things along the way.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Just not hidden really anything good. And
Really?
probably just going to stop there again, to be honest. Like, there's no reason to draw more cards. At this point, he's not hitting brutes, so it's going to be on the Lion's Frenzy win condition. He'll also need a glide at some point, but he's got some time. Biggest thing is completing the quest efficiently next turn without overdrawing the quest reward. And then Kurtrus would come down on 6, which is pretty much average, right? That's the expected amount of time. If you consider you're setting up on 2, completing first quest on 3, second on 4, completing Kurtrus on 5, and then playing it on 6 is usually what you're looking at. But here we go.
Yep, getting maximum reductions. Still going to be on a 9-card hand at the end of the turn because he can just 0 mana something away. And down to 16 cards. Getting those bristlebacks active pretty soon. Probably one more turn. Which pretty helpful if he's trying to remove huge minions.
Sansa's going to be really careful here. At any point, he could dump the Fury. But obviously, he's not super pumped about that.
He looks
because the damage of the Fury seems wasted because that damage is likely to just get
yeah, they just heal it.
Healed back up.
They just absorb the damage almost, yeah.
He really wants a glide. I'm pretty sure that was why he made the shake of the head at that very moment, because he still could have coin glided, and again, he will need a glide at some point in this match. Obviously, it would be great to pick it up right now because there's a full hand for Dimitri that's discounted. Glide is one of the best tools, not only for completing quest, for throwing away stuff in your hand, but also for disrupting your opponent's gameplay. Okay, at least he can get some brutes down pre-Kurtrus, though it's only a single brute, actually. And there's already a 5/4 on the other side, so it's just to put something in the way.
Down to the cellar with you. Go and investigate on your own.
Yeah.
This happens every time.
The power went out, and the breaker is in the corner of the basement, and it's 150 years old.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Everybody put their mobile, their phone into just a box for some reason and locked it, and they've lost the key. So they've just got to get the electric on, and this brute has been sent down to do it. He'll be fine. Dimitri,
This hand is
such a
full.
cheap hand. Yeah.
But it's full, and all these cards draw more cards. Well, not all.
Good time for a neophyte then.
Yeah. Can he backfire this turn? Can he get rid of enough?
Oh, what?
Trade? I mean, that doesn't copy, but I think he's okay with this. he's just using his cards so he can draw cards. Oh my god.
Have you ever considered not drawing so many cards so you don't need to draw cards to dump cards to draw cards? Consider just not doing that.
He has 2 backfires and a free Hand of Gul'dan in his hand.
Is there anything he can burn that like messes him up?
Let me take a look at his cards. Oh wait. Oh yeah, it does work. Okay. Probably not.
Because his deck kind of all does the same.
Let's take a look together, shall we?
Here we go. He would like the Bristlebacks. He would like the Blast.
Yeah.
The Neophyte would actually be handy, I guess, because he's going to try and save that for a turn where Monsanto's trying to lion him down.
Yeah.
Which is why he threw it away in the opener, I guess.
Without Rushrod Viper in the list, you kind of want a turn where you're just kind of healing back up.
My hand is full.
Tour guy can go.
God.
Didn't need him.
On.
Know our way around these parts.
Pretty much anything was okay, right?
Yeah. Right,
These are
decision
really
time.
difficult turns, honestly.
Now he's kind of in range as well, so he wants to sort of start making sure he doesn't die while still advancing his game plan, right? He can actually sort of die to things now if he's not careful.
Muzzle their magic.
Oh yeah, here comes the Neophyte to prevent that, or to try and slow that down at least.
To get a card out of his hand, importantly.
And that.
And so still dumping because the second one can just be played for free. And then what do we do with the remaining mana? Play a Mana Feeder Panthera. Just as a 2/3. Fine.
We've only got 10 cards. How do we spend this 7 mana? Oh, we play our whole hand.
Gonna Soul Rend, then dump the second Soul Rend, then backfire?
Oh, wow. Did burn the other Neophyte there, so... I mean, he's got double raise dead. He should be okay, but... a little bit irritating for him.
He's just gonna take another discard. He's just trying to empty his deck as fast as possible. He doesn't care what's discarded. He doesn't care what gets blown up by Soul Rend. He just wants to get to the bottom. He wants to make that number in the top right screen there, the number of cards that he has left in his deck, hit 0 as quickly as possible so that this free Hand of Gul'dan backfire will just kill Monsanto. He's going to give him
Does Monsanto go
as
here?
little time as possible.
Because he doesn't lose the weapon, so he doesn't have to complete. If he can just get in for 14 here. I think he's thinking of philosophying into the Spirit Jailer and just going, but he's taking a long time, so that might be not an option anymore.
If it's only like a half go, I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Sort of get a 12 in. Like we saw Fled yesterday only get a 6, and it wasn't enough. But if Monsanto can sort of do a chunky 12 or something. Now he's drawn the Brute. I think maybe he'll just go Brute-tastic instead. Change of direction. Put the brakes on. Send some more men down to the cellar.
Didn't swing. Likely to get healed back up anyway, and maybe he thinks he has 2 more turns, which we can see that he probably doesn't.
That was the Fled decision yesterday. It was against something else, but he made the decision wrongly as it happened, but rightly if you use any sort of strategy, not to do the first swing, and that ended up costing him as it happened. Monsanto going the other way in a similar spot against a different deck. Just picking off them Brutes.
Gets free Soul Rend if he wants it. Goes even deeper in the deck. Gonna tap first. Take the last card. Oh, not gonna Soul Rend. Okay. I guess he's drawing the rest of the cards naturally. There's first quest complete. Not first. First one of the 2 that remain. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
That is my currency.
Okay. He did as best he could not to overheal. Only healed over by 1, and now it's like, okay, lion this 34 down with your 6 cards.
A lot of damage. This is 2 glides in the deck. Plus, what is it, 4 soul fragments now?
I think so. I always trust you on those because
Oh!
Hide behind your servants. I will still fight.
you're the raven of the deck tracker, and I'm the sottle.
Your end comes now.
Okay. Well, his damage stopped. His card draw stopped.
Well, these brutes.
But at least he got some brutes down. Okay, I was trying to think if this was lethal on the other side, but it's no longer because the free soul rend, or the not free soul rend, the free hand of cooldown is now gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just, is it lethal? It's, are you dead next? I think Monsanto should swing here. He's just put down a gigantic amount of damage on the board.
Yeah.
You'd expect some of it to be picked off. We can see now that Dimitri's going to need probably to play the hand. Might be too much. Could just be over. Monsanto might have got this done.
Yeah. Raised Dead has Matron in it still, so that's a possibility, but it's also got a lot of other random stuff.
Go for the stuff.
Yeah, I think he can start with it. Doesn't hit Matron. Bristleback is something.
Yeah, it's a decent second prize in conjunction with the touch.
Yeah.
And I guess the neophyte means that at least you can slow down the frenzy that's coming in from this weapon.
Yeah, the problem is the board at the moment.
enough.
The problem isn't even the weapon. It's just the board state. These are very big.
Yeah. All right, try again.
Oh, that's Tamsin complete.
And it's a matron. Okay. Now he's got to go. In matrons, he has got a hand, so he doesn't lose Tamsin. He doesn't draw much. He only adds 1 card, though, so he's okay, kind of. He's got to do something.
Yeah, it's got to be Bristleback plus something. This looks like he's going to go Bristleback plus touch and then just hold on to the next touch. But, I mean, this just really doesn't block that much damage. There's 19 on
19.
board. Doesn't draw a card draw.
Oops.
All right. Let's get to the bottom of this.
All right, TJ, let's go. Teach me. Teach me how to shear a
Boom.
with 1 soul shear.
It was Spear Jailer, Fury, or Soul Shear that didn't draw cards that were in the list. So there were 3 cards in the deck that didn't draw cards. But 1 extra turn is huge. It's not lethal. You can't draw quite enough cards.
There's soul shear. Oh, I'm talking nonsense now. There's soul rend available, which could help. Hasn't got much. The mana gets really hard when you haven't got all your cards costing 0, doesn't it? It really makes a difference. Weird that.
Last 2 cards are Bloodshard, Bristleback, and Soul.
Oh. So either was fine. In fact, the soul rend was probably better because it's a full clear. Gaining health's good as well. I don't know.
Yeah, Soul Rend would have been a full clear. So can he only remove 1 with a touch? So he'd heal for 10? Go up to 19?
For 10.
This is so awkward.
But he's facing down 11 straight away. So he's basically going to be on effectively 8 if he does this.
Yeah, and then he probably just...
Oh, Neophyte to try not to die. And Soul Rend so he can clear up next turn.
Yeah, well, he's going to draw it anyway, so...
It's a fragment.
He has 2 draws in the deck that don't draw him cards.
Another fragment. Another fragment. Come on, fragment. Sort it out.
Okay, that draws a card. So right now we're looking at 11, 12, 17, 18, 19. There it is.
And Spectral Sight. He drew all the cards all this turn. He did miss last turn.
Didn't even need to. Didn't even need it. Yeah.
2-1 Monsanto in a humdinger of a match, getting that glide off at the right turn, resetting the costs on all Dimitri's cards, forcing him to go digging with raised deads and the such like, and Dimitri didn't get the necessary high roll to get back into it. I think he was behind straight after that glide. Also, Monsanto changing direction, sticking the brutes when the hand told him, hey, you've got brutes. And, you know, life give you brutes, you make brute aid.
When the game told him you have brutes, and you literally only have brutes. Like, here's 2 philosophies in a brute. That's your hand post-glide. We'll throw in a cane as well, just so, you know, to really tell you what the right play is. It's to empty your hand and make a lot of big minions. But, you know, that's... from my experience, that just is kind of how this matchup goes, because sure, you can go incredibly quickly as the Warlock. Mm-hmm. Dimitri really didn't go that fast in that game because his hand got awkward. And as soon as an outcasted glide comes in, like, it resets so much of your progress, because the only win condition you have in the deck is attrition. And, you know, kind of running yourself out of stuff, so that way you can win in fatigue with the Tamsin quest reward plus card draw. And as soon as you lose any bit of progress, it sets you back so far. There are some scenarios where, you know, let's say your opponent goes in with Lion's Frenzy and draws much of their deck. Then you, like, have held onto your Bloodsharp Bristlebacks and can rebounce up to almost full life, and then they're out of damage. But those situations are few and far between, because that would mean that they played all of their brutes in the early game and you dealt with it easily, and the only damage or threat they have left is Lion's Frenzy. So Glide is just a heck of a card in that matchup specifically. But now Dimitri's got to win the last 2 games of this series with Shadow Priest if he wants to move on to the finals. It is against 2 decent matchups with both Brute Demon Hunter and the Garrote Rogue, but you got to win 2.
Yeah, and everyone keeps telling me, and the stats tell me as well, so I'm outnumbered by every available metric, that the Shadow Priest does really well against the Brutes. But you don't stop 2 Brutes. If they go turn 3 Brute you, that ends the game on the spot. And there's plenty of other ways to do it as well. But the theory is, obviously, and how you would imagine it plays out, the Shadow Priest has minions, and we joke about it every day, but the Brute deck has no removal to speak of. It just plays Brutes and puts them in the way and hope that's enough. So in theory, the Priest should be fine. In practice, it's often fine, but it can just go terribly wrong. Terribly wrong. 7 wins, 4 losses in GM, the Priest, so it has managed to lose. I'm sure that was APAC or somewhere. We wouldn't ever do that.
No, absolutely not. This doesn't happen. All right. Reasonable hand for, honestly, both players. Dimitri doesn't have the crazy fast start, but he's got Cold Neophyte Deskimp next turn into Voracious Reader to try and refill. Monsanto, it's pretty good. Obviously, the cane draw off the top is not great, but he's at least got first quest completion easily, and then some stuff left over. Tusk Piercer can nearly complete the first quest on its own. Mm-hmm. And by nearly complete the first quest on its own, I mean it certainly completes the first quest on its own. If you have a Persistent Peddler in hand, you get natural draw off the top, you trade away the Peddler, you attack with the Tusk Piercer to draw it again, then trade it away again. Bada bing, bada boom. That's 4 card draw.
That's not on its own. That's with like 3 other things happening. That's not
okay, you draw your card at the beginning of the turn no matter what.
Okay, that's 1
So that's
card.
1. So you really only need 3. The only other condition you need to meet is by having the Persistent Peddler in your hand.
Uh-huh.
That's it. That's only one condition. He hasn't. No.
And he can't get rid of the Tusk Piercer.
No.
Okay, cool.
But next turn, he's good.
Dimitri still going to have to... Yeah, you're right. I understand. Dimitri, I'm going to have to play the Homunculus here. I think he wants to get this Voracious Reader going. And if that's going to get going, he's going to need the Homunculus on the board. So you might as well get it out of the way, nuisance though it is. Miss a hero power this turn, dumpster everything else on the board. That would be my play. It's not nice. He may divert from that and just play the Attendant now.
Attendant hero power isn't bad either, right?
Yeah.
And then you can...
But the thing is that the Homunculus...
Voracious Reader next turn.
I think the Homunculus is just too slow if you don't play it now, so I think you miss the hero power. Because then the Homunculus is actually irritating. It forces Monsanto to require Kane at some point.
No. Right. I like the positioning as well. Put the Dormant Minion off on its own, and then the Attendant in the middle, because that's the one that you're going to want to buff the most if Wriggling Horror is picked up. And then you get to decide which one you buff it with. So paying attention to everything.
So what Monsanto can do now is he can complete the quest with just the Tusk Piercer. On its own. Basically, only card. How about that?
Do you ever take Vile Fiend Trainer here? Just coin it out?
Okay. I mean...
It's a 5/4, right? Like,
see what you're thinking.
Because he already had a Philosophy in hand.
Now he's got 3.
Now he's got 3.
So, the only demons he's got are either gigantic, taunty nonsense, or put, like, 1,000,000 fragments in your deck. Hey, look at that. He got the Peddler, and then he put the Peddler back, and then he completed the quest. Imagine.
Funny how that works.
It's a good idea. All right, Kane's going to take care of the Attendant, you'd think.
The Soul Shear is probably going to take care of the Attendant.
Also possible.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Ow, it hurts.
this deck doesn't have any acorns in it, but it still has the nuts.
Bet you had a squirrel in our garden today. Or our backyard. No, I'm American. Our backyard.
Yeah, come on. Americans still have gardens sometimes, but it's not what you think.
Not what Skegness has. Yeah. All right. Well, this game might be coming to an end pretty soon.
Yeah. So he's going to double Soul Shear these Attendants this turn. That's just what happens. And then he glides next turn, and then hopes that he hits every Soul Fragment in his deck.
Next turn.
Wait, what?
Well, there is no next turn. He's facing 1,000,000.
Yeah, but if he double Soul Shears the Attendant, he's only actually facing 6.
Sure. Okay.
For now.
I think he realised that facing 6 and then 2 from Hero Power and 2 more from Hero Power is still 10.
Yeah, but then he'd have 4 Soul Fragments in his deck, and then he could glide next turn and hit Brutes.
Okay. Okay, I'm
Like,
listening.
but so the Soul Shears there take it's 2 naturally plus 5 sources of damage, so that's 10, 12. It would take 12 damage off the board. So there's the board state. So yeah, it'd be maximum 6 unless there was Raised Dead, which wouldn't guarantee the Attendants. It would almost guarantee it because he'd only killed a Neophyte. Maybe he was worried about Raised Dead, but
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a bit weird.
I understand what he's trying to do. He's like, all right, I need to hit Brutes right now or I die.
I mean, it's Monsanto's own fault because him and Language Hacker basically popularized that priest deck. So without them, he would never have been against it.
All right. Well, it comes down to game 5. It's Garrote Rogue for Monsanto versus Priest for Dimitri. Still Priest favored. I mean, you can tempo pretty well early on as the Rogue. But you need very specific cards in your deck. You have a lot of cards that you draw off the top. They do absolutely nothing in the matchup. Garrote is almost completely useless.
Yep.
Prep isn't useless, but in some hands it is useless. You're looking for Prize Plunder. You're looking for Foxy Fraud, Wand Thief, Pen Flinger.
So tempo cards then. That's what you're trying to say here.
Yeah. You look like he can just play their Aug.
These cards.
Put something in the way.
Yeah, normally you'd definitely play the Org Merchant here, but with the Octobot, you might be more tempted not to. I think you do just play it personally. I like playing it there.
More mischief?
Because the Octo probably gets procced by just bumping into something at some point.
Show blessings,
Yeah.
mate.
True.
Efficient is sufficient.
There it is.
Okay, this is yeah.
Dimitri's like, there's not a card in my deck that deals with that. Ah!
Yeah. How negligent of me.
Yeah, I forgot to put in something that deals 4 damage.
In fact, people have actively taken out the things that do 4 damage from this deck.
Is Abusive Sergeant in Standard? I don't even know. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
but
it in a while.
it's only +1 these days, isn't it, or something? I don't know.
No, it's a 1/1. It's still +2 attack.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Their magic.
Wow, you're playing it. You'll find out.
Yeah, I think you have to attack into this. Yep.
Yes, it's in Standard. 1 mana, 1/1. Give a minion +2 attack this turn.
Nice.
Ah, how the mighty have fallen. It was just too broken for the format. And it suffered. Right. Introduce hand for Monsanto's. This is his big turn. If he gets control of the board about now, he should be able to hold on to it for most of the game.
He can clear off mostly everything. He can brain freeze the 2/3, trade over the Cold Neophyte with his Octobot, and then Aug Merchant it. It would leave a 1/2 on board versus a 3/2, a 2/1, and a 1/2, which is pretty good. He'd be left with whatever spell he chooses here, plus a Swindle. None of these are actually, both Cone of Cold and Incanter's Flow would activate the Swindle next turn because its base cost 1. So if that's the case, I kind of like the Cone of Cold. There's a chance that Monsanto could go for an even bigger swing next turn and just kind of hold on. Oh.
Just setting up the cone, I think.
You're paying for my discretion.
Just going wide? Okay.
Oh, you're just killing
All
things.
right. Okay.
Tempo. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Not opposed.
You got to do this.
Not opposed.
Thing is, if you're not ahead by turn 4, they can just do Gandling, 0 drop, 0 drop, 0 drop, Raise Dead, 0 drop, 0 drop, and get like 17 4/4s or something. And that's just not much fun. Also not much fun, though, is this hand that Dimitri's got. It's pretty grim.
Yeah.
And he can't... He wants to take the value trade, obviously, here, just to continue the good fight. But he really needs to get a Deceptor down to get a Raise Dead back. And to do that, he's got to go face, because he hasn't got the mana to ping. He hasn't got a Raise Dead. The second one's easy. You Raise Dead, you hurt yourself. The cycle begins.
Yeah, he probably has to Aug Merchant the Aug Merchant.
Quickly.
Yeah,
Upgrade. Probably.
that's where he's at.
Okay.
So it's Cone of Cold, but do you take the chance to swindle? Or do you just want to play a 1 Thief just to have another 1/2 on the board?
Yeah, that's a good point, honestly. That's a very difficult situation. I guess he values the 1/2, and I think he's correct in doing so. The Swindle costs 1, so he's very likely to hit something that can activate it.
He's having the same discussion with himself that we're having with each other. Hopefully quicker, though.
Yeah. So he's looking at what's in the Raise Dead pool. It's Colteron Chaplain, a Tiny Fin and a Guardian Og Merchant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing can really punish him for not playing the Swindle. I mean, he could take Arcane Intellect and then just draw a bunch of stuff next turn.
I think that's for the turn after. I think next turn he plays whatever he draws and Swindle. And then the Intellect's just a refill the turn after with whatever he draws and Arcane Intellect.
Yeah.
That's my guess as to the situation. Because he wouldn't mind getting his hero power played at some point. Kind of missing out on two pretty painful but required damage there.
Yeah. He also opts against trading because he doesn't want to give Dimitri higher value minions. Because right now, the Raised Head pool is pretty low value. As I mentioned, it was Colteron, Chaplain, Deathcamp, and Guardian Og Merchant. He doesn't want to give him another Cult Neophyte, obviously, because he just wants to play spells next turn, and he knows the Raised Head is in hand. And the Colteron, or the Twilight Dissector, he doesn't want to give that over either, because he doesn't want to give another Raised Dead.
Well, on top of that, like, if he draws Prize Plunderers and things, he might just need targets, so things to kill, rather than just wasting one of his minions trading in. If he gets something good from this Swindle, he might be able to do, for instance, ping your 3-1, Swindle, plunder your 2-2 or 2-3, and yeah, that's a lot better than just dumping off one of your minions.
Yeah.
More mischief? More mischief?
I'm going to give health to one of his 1/1s here so they don't. So it can't get. No, that's too fancy. Too fancy.
Here we go. He's defended the Org Merchant killing your 3-1 trick,
Probably.
but it doesn't work because now just get the same trade. But this is it. Big. If you can get something useful. That's not useful. That's too slow. And that's too slow as well.
Oh man, he's gonna die.
Well, he's on 25. There's an attendant in Dimitri's hand. But there's plenty of good trades available here for Monsanto for this turn.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a terrible, terrible draw, but Kazaka's into 1-drop is option. There's also Arcane Intellect into just take your chance. There's Shroud into like double Prize Plunderer. There's things.
Yeah. Good thing for Monsanto, it's a pretty dead draw off the top for Dimitri. And Dimitri has a tough decision to make here because that's a lot of damage being represented, but it's actually not a tough decision. He has to trade because if he just like attendance and then pushes everything face, there's way more damage on the other side of the board. He's at 18. Like if he attendance push face, there's 8 damage on board plus 10. That would be lethal. So it's probably, I mean, it might even be like Homunculus, Chaplain, Hero Power, something down and just clean up the board as much as possible. Save the Void Touched Attendant until you're actually, going for a kill and you've gotten full control of the board.
Yeah, it's only a single attendant, but it's still pretty damaging. It should be 13. It wouldn't quite be lethal. But with some garrots thrown in for good measure, it would be. So yeah, he's having to pick some things off, and he doesn't know what he's up against. He doesn't realise how bad Monsanto's hand is. There's some scary generated cards in there.
Yeah, and he's decided. I think you got to kill Wanty here. Like, well, you lose this as Shadow Step into like AOE.
Oh, here we go. I mean, it's not a pop-off.
The remainder of the deck, Monsanto has double Shadow Step, double Prep, still has 1 Guardian, 1 Ethereal Og Merchant, a Penflinger, double Prize Plunder. He's got a lot of things to continue the draw chain, but yeah. I think he's got to wait like 1 turn.
That's a good call, actually. He's got time. I mean, he hasn't got a lot of time, but he's got time.
Stealth. The Field Contact is stealthed.
It is. But the Octobot is amazing. And stealthed. And you can brain freeze as well if you want to. You can't brain freeze because you want to play 2 field contacts next turn.
Do you?
I mean, you want to play one this turn and have the other one next turn. Yeah! 2 field contacts, draw 1,000,000 cards. Play a stealth one now, play the other one next turn, and just draw 1,000,000 cards. And play all your cards.
Kind of want to brain freeze something. He's got a guaranteed proc next turn. I feel like he just takes as much power off the board and then goes with his turn next turn. Yeah. Rough part for Dimitri is, like, if he plays Void Touch Attendant,
Yep.
can he die? Like, it's not that many bleeds that would be needed.
It's a good
Monsanto
point.
wouldn't need to draw through his whole deck.
It's a good point. How much damage does he do?
I wonder.
He would need to take 13. That's not many bleeds at all, actually.
Yeah.
4 or 3, depending on spell damage.
Yeah, it's very unlikely. I think Monsanto's main goal next turn is just to try and clean things up. And I still don't even know if it's still worthwhile to play the Void Touch Attendant. It's a very hard decision to make. Because he doesn't want to give Monsanto any chances at potentially finding lethal.
I think you're right. I think you just play it last, play the freshman now, just settle for your lot in life. It's also,
But then it's
freshman's better at controlling the board because it's got an extra health, which is quite important.
Yeah. And then chuck it all face. All right.
Monsanto would like a cheap card to get... Not that cheap.
That's pretty good because it's a free Arcane Intellect. It's not a free Arcane Intellect. He can draw 2 cards and then reduce them again with the...
Yeah.
Or reduce them with the Octobot.
There we go. That's what he wants. That's not what he wants. He can just go, draw 1,000,000 cards and see where you're at.
He's got to make the decision, though, if it's 2.
Do you want to try and win on board, or do you want to try and win by removing your opponent's board and win on combo? It's kind of close. Just the one.
Yeah, that's good.
Preserving some combo element. Still got 2 shadow steps, right? You said? Yes, he has. I've just seen it. So
2 Shadow Steps.
he can play towards those.
I'm looking for a few good mercenaries.
Little shooty guy would be nice. Lifesteal.
So give your minions +1/+1. Battle Cry.
There we go. Shadow step. What would you like to shadow step? Shadow step the battle guy boy? Yeah, make things even bigger.
Yeah.
And hope you don't die next turn.
Okay, so there's 8 damage being represented on board. Void Touch Attendant would be 10 with the hero power. Void Touch Attendant would represent 4 in that case. So it's 14. So he's off.
Mindrender Lucia is huge. Is it huge enough? Actually,
Not like this.
it's Garrots. Garrot does 3. That's 17. And there's a field contact, but he can't get both of them down. He can't get contact and draw a card. Can he not die? He might have to trade. I feel that if he played the contact and garroted, that if he then traded around, it'd actually be quite hard to lose. I guess he just loses the board because of the neophyte and the org merchant that way.
He's got to kill one more thing. Right? Doesn't he have to kill one more thing? Wait.
5.
That's 6 plus 5, that's 11. Plus 4, that's...
Void touched.
He drew a Void Touch! No way! That's lethal. Because there's 12 damage on board, plus 6. That's 18. He got him. Holy moly! Was it lethal without the second Void Touched? So he had 12 damage being represented on board. That could go face. 13 with the dagger, plus 4, 17. He had it without the second Void Touched.
And that's
Because
why
Dimitri
Lucy
was
is
exactly at 17.
such a 50-50 double-edged weapon that everybody loves.
Oh.
It just goes either way whenever you play Lucia. Either way. Anything could happen.
He needed to trade more. He left himself dead on board. He missed an attack at the end, but at that point it didn't matter because he had already expended the rest of his attacks. So he did leave himself dead on board. That's those are tough calculations to make, right? Because you're trying to set up for lethal yourself. And the minions on the other side of the board were actually quite big. But that's a nice read by Monsanto there, I guess. No, I don't think a lot of players would play Kazakus in that instance because it spends 3 of his remaining 4 mana and doesn't even guarantee him something good. He could have kept drawing through his deck and trying to hit prize plunderers, but went for the high upside play of building a board, which is what won him the game. Because if he went for anything else and didn't have a giant board at the end of that,